if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Okay, let's speak to this. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. This is something that I always say, and it's something that I say in my Untethered webinar. It's something that I tell all my team to reiterate. Like this is if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Because there's a reason why it doesn't feel good. Right? If something doesn't feel good, don't do it. And it doesn't mean avoid it or bypass it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it means, mmm, it's not feeling good in my body. There is something going on here, and I need to explore why this doesn't feel good. Because I can tell the difference between like when I take action in my business on something that feels so good in my body, it just like it's like, yes. It's like an immediate yes. We're doing this. Like there is no question. But even the smallest hint of doubt or the smallest hint of any kind of negative emotion or feeling, or, even if you look at fear, right? Fear presents the feeling of fear, right? When you're afraid of something. Here, I'll give you an example. I remember the first time I ever spoke in front of people. The first time I ever spoke in front of a crowd, it was like 1,000 people. And I was like, "Huh?" Okay, so rewind, little Abby I love drama. I love drama. I love Stepford's Leo Rising. There's something that really, I guess, activates in me when I'm speaking in front of people, and it just comes naturally. And I guess the first time I ever did a major speaking gig, it was 1,000 people. And I was afraid. But well, I wasn't afraid. I had an emotional response. hmm And I had a feeling in my body. And fear and excitement actually present the same way, right? So in your body, when you're going through excitement, it's like, or it's like fear, it's like, again, anxiety. Like your body responds. It's that heightened experience and the heart palpitations. And but it's our attachment to that. Is it fear or is it excitement? I don't know. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Or sometimes it's the story that we create around this emotional response. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. But when I stepped into that like these butterflies, these nerves, I was like, okay, what's going on in my body here? And I'm having a heightened experience. Am I triggered? I don't know. Am I excited? Probably. I knew I was on the edge of something. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I remained completely unattached to it and I did it anyway. Right. But if it doesn't feel good, don't do it is like sometimes we have to feel the fear and do it anyway. But sometimes it's like knowing what's actually going on for you. So I knew what was going on for myself and I did it anyway because I knew on the other side of that fear, I was activating a higher level of potential within myself. So it's having the ability to not just process your emotion. I think some people are like, oh, just process. And they're like stuck in these cycles of emotional processing. And it's like, what actually is going on for you? We need to understand. It's not just being aware of what experience we're having, but it's understanding that experience so we can use it to activate our potential. And when I say if it doesn't feel good, don't do it, it doesn't mean don't do the action. It's that we've actually got to go into that not good feeling and sit in it for a bit and understand it for a bit and unpack it. Don't live there, right? Because if it doesn't feel good, there might be a sense of fear, anxiety, frustration, anger, like there's resentment, there's something that's just pulling at you. And I usually say, this is soul speak. This is your soul speak. So we need to learn the language of your soul. So, what is soul saying to you? What is soul asking you to do differently? So, in that moment of my heightened emotions before I was about to stand on the stage in front of 1,000 people, ask myself, what is soul asking me to do differently? And for so long, I had shut my voice down and not wanted to say what I truly felt. And I had a planned direction for my discussion on stage, but my soul was asking me to do something differently. And I was like, oh, soul's actually wanting me to speak my truth. So I went out on that stage and I shared to the entire crowd that I went to this event thinking everyone in that room was my people. But after being there for so long, couple of days, and having conversations with people, I realized everyone there was there for money and no one was there to actually change people's lives. And that pissed me off. So I went into the frustration and was like, what is soul asking me to do differently? Soul's asking me to speak my truth. Okay, I'm going to go out on stage and tell them all that they're not my people. What? Lovingly, lovingly. But you know what happened? It was the opposite. When I took everything off the table and said, you're not my people, I'm here to help, I'm here to create change. Fuck the money. Who cares? Generational income. What about generational impact? Changing the lives of the next generation. And we can do that through business. Yes, we need resources, but it's not the reason we go into this. And it had the opposite effect, right? At the end of it, I had a heap of people coming up to me like, oh my God, Abby, I so agree with you. Like, I know you think I'm not your person, but I'm so your person. And then things just naturally evolved from that space. And I think this is when like people get stuck in frustrations or stuck in fears and stuck in these concepts of like, if it doesn't feel good, just push it away or just avoid it. Let's bury our head in the sand and not address the elephant in the room in your business. What if we actually look at what that frustration is or what is soul asking you to do differently? It doesn't feel good because you got to make a different decision. And making that different decision might mean more work. It might mean more learning. It might mean stepping outside of your comfort zone. It might mean, getting a little bit, yeah, outside of your comfort zone. That's what they say. Growth doesn't happen in the places that feel good, but sometimes soul will speak to you and it won't feel good. And that's because this is your ego, this is your protection, this is your, hey, no, this doesn't feel good, don't do it. So it's deciphering the difference between it doesn't feel good because we need to protect ourselves, we need to enforce a boundary, or is it not feeling good because we're actually activating a higher potential of ourselves? So how do we actually tell the difference between, protection or activation? It's so nuanced. I just don't feel like it's something that you can go, here's the blanket approach to it. And this is why I have the 7 steps of transformation, because first you've got to be aware of the response, but then you've got to understand the response. And it all comes back to, well, what decision am I making in my business right now? And where is it coming from? And it's the why. It's there's always a reason why you're making decisions in your business. What's the driver of your decisions? And this is where I teach people the difference between, I guess, motivation and inspiration, right? So, motivation is the action that we're taking to move away from the outcome, whereas inspiration is the action we take when we're working towards something. And you can be motivated about something. I'm motivated to go to the gym because I don't want to be fat, right? That's the away from. And this is where people burn out in their gym routines because they're going to the gym because they don't want to be fat. They're afraid of being fat. They're afraid of being, right? But then what can happen is things will shift, and instead of going to the gym because I don't want to be fat, I'm going to the gym because I want to look after my body or I feel good. It feels good for me to go to the gym and exercise and move my body and work out and do the stretches. And I know how my body responds to that. So I'm inspired to go to the gym because of what I want to create for my life rather than I'm motivated to go to the gym because of what I don't want in my life. So when we're trying to decipher the difference between something being a protection or for you or an ascension for you, what emotion is driving this decision? And if it's frustration, It's usually if we're coming from a space of frustration or a space of fear, or we're worried about the outcome, or we don't feel good enough, or we don't feel worthy, or it's the negative. No, spirit doesn't want me to go down here. It's like, nah, is lost in the abyss of the void. When people are making decisions in their business for money out of fear, you're probably not going to make the money. If people are making decisions for money based out of frustration or hustle or grind or overworked or busyness or I just got to, I just have to, it's like a motivational force and eventually that'll burn out. But when people are making decisions not for money, but for people because they're inspired to serve, to create, to share, to grow, it's going to have a different energy behind it. It's like that energy is the driving force for your business. And when you can tap into the truth of who you are and what you want to create and why you want to create it for the good of humanity, that becomes the compass. I don't ever do things in my business for money, it's for people. How is this going to benefit myself, my team, my community, everyone together for the good of all? When people come into business and it's self, 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 self. Now, this could be consciously or unconsciously, but it's like, I got to make money. I got to do this. I need this for myself, survival, survival. It's all root chakra. It's all base chakra, scarcity, survival, safety. Why do we not feel safe in the world? Why do people put so much emphasis on money providing their safety? Let me ask you a question. Has there ever been a time where you've needed and universe has not provided? Or have there been times where you've needed and things have just come from, geez, I don't even know where. Has that ever happened to you? Because it's happened to me. And I think even if you can look at that and acknowledge that, it's like you got to acknowledge the universe. Thank you for providing for me and my family in a time that I didn't even know where it was going to come. And this is where we can shift some of these thought patterns too, because when you, I think, what was the saying? The saying that I always say, oh, yeah, write this one down. This one's for you. Please write it down. Wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All of my needs and desires are met instantaneously. I am one with God, universe. I haven't said that one in a while. I used to say it a lot. And it's like this affirming, these affirmations, the one I was just sort of a bit shit canning earlier, but affirmations, right? When we start out with these affirmations, it's like we don't believe them. So if you're saying these affirmations and you don't believe it to be true, do you think it's going to come true? Affirmations definitely have a place, but we've got to go to, well, do we actually believe this to be true? And we can trick ourselves into affirming, but we've got to work on the behavior. And I think there's not enough credit to the universe for when it does deliver. And it's like people think that universe is going to deliver in the way that we expect it to, and it's never the case. It's like putting in an order with the universe, but you don't know when it's going to be delivered. You don't know what it is, but you've just got to trust that it's going to come. But you don't even know when it's going to come either. And that trust piece, you know, it's hard. It's hard when you're in a place of scarcity and you're trying to push and grind and make things happen, but you lack the trust. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Why is it not feeling good? Because we lack trust. Trust in ourselves or trust in the universe. If it doesn't feel good, there's something to, soul is asking you to do something differently. And what is soul asking you to do? Either trust yourself, trust the universe, surrender, and take a different action, because it's all in the actions. The actions is what we have to start embodying the universal currency. Because how are we going to alchemize those desires if we don't embody the actions that tell universe we trust? So this comes back to faith, right? So what I did for myself to really anchor surrender and trust, because it's not like you wake up one day and go, oh, I have complete trust in the universe. Yay, all of my needs. It's like we only trust when we are given when our reality tells us that we can trust, right? It's like we're in this constant state of distrust or fear until our reality changes. And it's like you're telling the universe, I'll trust you when, I'll trust you if. And that's conditional. So you want to move into a space where trust actually becomes natural and unconditional. It's like, I'm going to trust the universe is going to provide because I'm in co creation with the universe. I'm the creator. So ultimately, if I trust the universe, I'm trusting myself. And do I trust myself that I have everything that I need to provide for myself, for my family, for my community? Sometimes there's going to be moments where you have no idea what's about to happen and you're afraid. Shit. You could be on the brink of complete financial ruin. And I think this was the huge piece for me. I had to trust when I was on the brink of bankruptcy. Everyone was saying, Abby, don't do it. Abby, don't do it. I had to trust myself, trust universe. And I received the message for the very first time. And it was like, you will never be here again. I've talked about this. And it's like, that was when I really tapped into deeper levels of trust. I didn't know. I didn't know what was on the, and instead of frantically trying to make things happen, I just let go. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ride this wave. Who knows where I'll end up? All I know is that as long as I put my kids and myself first, all of our needs are met for, and I'm just going to trust the divine unfolding. And then you break, they say new levels, new devils. You break down deeper layers of trust, but it's like sometimes we've just got to let go of control. And you have to trust. It's faith. It's faith. This is faith. Do you have faith in the universe? Do you have faith in life? Are you empowered by the ability to craft out your own life? Or are you just still reactive to everything that's happening around you? Some things we can control, some things we can't control. I can't control what people say or people do, or, all I can do is respond when things happen. But in that response, where am I coming from? Is it driven by fear or is it driven by love? Because when our behavior is driven by the fear response, you're just going to keep attracting same. When we move to love, love doesn't mean sunshine and rainbows and I'm always going to be picking the best possible outcome for myself or for my kids or for my, sometimes it's tough love. It's sometimes being the baddie. Sometimes it's saying the thing that you don't want to say, but you have to say it to discipline. Or, I went through that bloody hell this morning with my kids. Man, even I was crying because I didn't want to be the baddie. I didn't want to be the meanie, but this is unconditional love, right? It's the mother love, the grandmother love, it's the father love, the love for your children. It's like, I love you so much that I will be the bad person and say the thing to help discipline you so you can learn the lesson. But I'm not going to take responsibility for your action. You'll hold the responsibility for that. But I love you enough to say this so you can grow and learn from it. Because growth is tough. Sometimes we need to listen to tough things. So let's talk about a tangible experience here. When we're talking about fear, we're talking about love, we're talking about motivation and inspiration, we're talking about, like, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. So how do we actually decipher our way through this? So let's look at a real life example. And that example is, if you want something, all right? So you want something but you don't have the money for it. So there's someone who's making decisions in their business because they're afraid, right? And someone who's making decisions in their business because they're in love. So an example is, Right. Sometimes we make decisions in our business based on past traumas. And I see this a lot in men, right? So I've worked with men before, a lot of men, especially coming through where they've got, there's been a breakdown in marriage, there's been a breakdown in the family unit, and, men process information a lot differently to women. And, they bottle it and they hold on. They still process it, they don't talk about it. Whereas women, they love to talk about it. They love to, unpack all of the things and move through it. And I feel like, sometimes I've specifically seen men in business where they'll actually limit themselves from making a certain level of success because they're afraid of all the controversy that's happened, all the child support, all the this, all the that. They're afraid to actually step into their true potential and true power because the ex will take it from them, or child support will take it from them, or so they kind of limit themselves. And what they can do is they'll actually make problems in their business. So they like cockblock their own success. They'll like self-sabotage, or they'll like micro analyze every single little thing in their business because they're trying to protect their business, but they don't actually want to create more success for themselves because they're in fear that it's going to get taken away from them. So whilst they're trying to build success, they just keep hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock because and then they're naturally going to attract same, right? They're going to attract whether it's staff, clients, ex-partners that want to take from them because that's the energy that they're giving off. The just take it from me and I've got no control over this. So, this is a very real problem for men. And I just want to shout out to all the men in business out there that are struggling because, sometimes I feel they don't get enough credit that they actually deserve. And I feel that, moving from this, making these decisions in business from fear to love can be such it's not like you're gonna wake up one day and start operating from love. Like we've actually got to break down some of those things that have happened in the past. And it's like, well, you're making a decision to protect yourself. Okay, so why were you making that decision? And what was the meaning behind that decision? Okay, protection for sure. But what was the energy behind that? And it was like, oh, well, they just took, but I just gave it. I just allowed that to happen, and they just took it. So I had leaky boundaries, or I didn't stand up for myself, or I didn't, I was sort of passive in that because I wanted to provide for them. I wanted them to have this. I wanted them, but there was that take energy that I allowed to happen. So there's sort of a readjustment in, well, how can we have these boundaries in place, or how can we step more into our truth and be integrated in that being able to give without it just being taken beyond our will. So there's got to be a shift in the behavior to shift the energetics. So when you move then into a position in your business where you've got those boundaries, you know who you are, you know what you're doing, you're more than happy to give, but it's not this take energy, it's giving and receiving, not taking and allowing. There's dynamics that are playing out here. And I think that when you then move into the space of I'm making these decisions in my business, for my family, and it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about everyone. And it's like segueing here, like keeping a staff member on even though you know that they're not a fit for a role. I was talking to a client about this the other day, and it's been like 7 years with a staff member in a position that is not a fit for a role. And it's like, how long are you still going to fear the outcome of this? Because this is costing you money. And just because they're not a fit for that role doesn't mean they might not be a fit for another role. Like, let's look at where they fit. You've got longevity, you've got loyalty. What are the good qualities? Like, let's look at from a holistic perspective for sure. And, instead of being afraid of what's going to happen on the other side of shifting this role, let's like trust the evolution of it and know that things are going to land exactly where they're supposed to be. You just need to have the courage to have the conversation. And if you're people pleasing and keeping someone just because so they have a job or they can provide for their family, like you are taking away the opportunity for their growth. So it's really hard to explain because it's so nuanced and it's going to depend on the decision, what the energetics are at play. Are you in a space of fear or love? And, I don't even always get it right. Sometimes I'll make decisions and I look back and I go, fuck, man, I should have done this. Hindsight's such a beautiful thing, but I always like lead with the intention of the greater good of all. Like I want everyone to win. There's a seat at the table for everyone. And like it's not just the Abbey Rose show, there's so many other people that benefit from this whole movement existing and it's not just myself. And I think when you genuinely have the greater good in your heart space, you will lead from that space. It will come out in the way that you speak. It'll come out in the way that you interact with people. It'll come out in the way that you don't have to go around saying, I'm heart centered, I'm heart centered. It just naturally comes out of you because your decisions come from love. So I think for myself, when I was shifting through making decisions based on fear and making decisions based, like I was making decisions in my accounting practice because I thought I had to. I didn't think I had another choice. Like I was so asleep, man. Like so asleep. I was so asleep. I was so asleep. I didn't even realize I have thoughts because I thought I was the thoughts. The thoughts were me. And everything I was doing was from a place of victim, self, what I thought I had to be, what society, you know. I even remember growing up, I couldn't even make a decision, right? Growing up, I grew up in a family, a web of just toxicity where I couldn't even make a decision without the approval of my whole family. So undoing a lot of that stuff to where now is like I make the decisions that I feel are the best for me, for my family, for my team, for my people, for my community. And sometimes it might be a hard decision, but I'm not afraid of the hard decisions as long as I feel like they are coming from love. So the decisions I used to make, it was all about counting the money. I was forever counting the money. I was forever counting the sales, looking at the bank. I was like micro over analyzing finances, right? How much my staff was costing, how much my rent was costing, how much all this like I was so like, and it's funny because I can see, people coming into my world that are similar to this and they're micro over analyzing every to the fucking cent. Like I even remember when I was doing accounting work, if my balance sheet was out 1 cent, I would have to find it. I needed to know where that 1 cent. And I even saw the natural progression of that when I started letting go of control and I started really, I was like, fucking 1 cent, who cares? Put it to bank fees. Like 1 cent, right? So it's like we cause ourselves so much pain when we're trying to control things and when we need to know every like little minute fucking detail, micromanage every. So there's a level of like, yeah, okay, manage things, but do we need to know every little, or can we have a bit of trust in that space? When I look at some of my high net worth individuals, they're not micromanaging their finances. They're not logging into their bank accounts 10 times a day to check if more money has landed. So it comes out in the behavior. Whereas now it's like I do my business metrics. Like I always do my metrics. I've done my metrics every month, in the public I used to do it weekly. Now I do it monthly. It's like 15 minutes a month, just getting a snapshot for myself and for the people, for the team, for the projects, where are things going. Like I'm not like listening to the pulse of my business 24/7. I'm just like checking in once a month. Cool, we're on track. Let's keep going. And it's like, I just, I think I even went like 3 months without looking and I didn't care. I was just like, let's just keep going. Like you as a business owner, attuned to the legacy, attuned to your essence, you know what's going on in your business. You know what's going on. I would even take like financial reports to my clients. I had one client in particular, and I remember when we first started out, he was like a tradie and he had 3 years of taxes not done when we first started together. And I got him up to date, and then um, he created a building company. By the time we finished, he had three businesses and multi-million dollar businesses. And when I look back at that, and I was like, wow, what was, that was him, right? He was an innovator, creator. He was really great with his business. And the one thing that we did was every week we sat down, every Friday we sat down. He's like, Abby, give me the numbers. Right? He wanted to know. And every week I sat down with him and I loved it. Right, because I loved sharing the figures just as much as I loved him asking for them. I was like, yeah. And but every time I put those reports in front of him, I never expected it that I was right. I never expected to be right. I would say, these are the reports for the week. What do you let me know if you see anything, like what needs to be changed? Is there anything that sticks out? Let's go through this. Because he knew his business. Even though I was doing the numbers, he knew his business because he was a business owner. As a business owner, you know what's going on, even if you, without micromanaging the numbers, So I would always say, you know, I would own mistakes because he knows what's going on. If something sticks out, I'm going to fix it. Yeah. But it was just interesting, like with the awareness now, looking back and going, wow, we were doing that. That was like, what, 2012? I think when in the construction industry, when they first brought out the contractors' payments and we had to move everyone back to employees, man, that was a pain in the ass. But yeah, I feel like the decisions now, we don't have to be so micromanaged. And it doesn't matter about the value. You got to look at percentages. And there's just this trust of like, when I know what we're here for and I know what we're doing, and as long as I keep, you know, working towards that goal, that vision that I see, that I have seen, everyone's provided for. Everyone's totally provided for, and I don't need to micromanage it. What I do need is people to see that vision and see that legacy and work with me on it. I'm the custodian for this. It's not me. It's like what we're all doing together. And I believe collectively we're all working for the same goal. This is the other thing, people who are successful aren't out there bitching and moaning about other people. People who are successful are cheering people on because they want other people to have that success too. So who do you see out there bitching and moaning, and who do you see out there cheering? If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Doesn't mean bypass your decisions. It actually means look at your decisions. Where are they coming from? And what's the purpose behind that? What's the end goal? The end goal's not money. Money is the byproduct of you working towards the end goal. So what is that end goal? What is it that you're creating? What do you want to create in life? And who have you got to become for that creation? Because I guarantee you, business is the biggest initiator. It's the initiator of the leadership for the new earth. Who have you got to become for this vision, for this legacy? And then become that. You have to be that person. And that is not for the faint-hearted because you'll have people telling you you're wrong. You'll have people trying to condemn you and pull you down and say, but that's just when you anchor in deeper. Feel the fear, do it anyway. But these are the steps, babe. It's my Oracle deck, prosperity. It's like
Yep.
awareness, understanding, surrender, transmutation, education, embodiment. That's the alchemy. That's the transformation. It's not like here's 3 steps and you're going to move from fear to love. Like this is a journey. This is a journey that you're going to go on. And if you want to move from operating from a fear response to operating from a love response, you're going to have to commit to that journey. Right? It's unpacking the layers. It's actually learning something new to embody that. Right? It's not going to a workshop and going, oh, yay, I'm love and light now. Let's go. Like, this is not a love and light journey. This is fucking shadow work. This is shadow work. But then it's also understanding energetics and dynamics and behavior and all of this sort of stuff as well. I didn't just wake up and like act from love. I put myself through a hell of a lot of personal development, a hell of a lot of spiritual development. And then it benefits in my leadership skills because of that, because I understand people, I understand the brain, I understand behavior, I understand emotion, I understand energetics. And I understand those things because I educated myself. So I learned. How did I learn? I read books. How did I learn? I did courses. How did I learn? I put those courses into action. I did the thing. And people sign up to courses and expect the person who they're buying the course from to do the thing for them. That's not what it's about. You've got to do it. Here's the education to learn how to do it. Now go and do it. But if you're going to learn the education and just like keep learning all these new things, but never take the action on actually doing these new things, then you're never going to move beyond it because you're still outsourcing your power to the person you bought the course from. Here's the thing, feel the fear and do it anyway. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it, means you've got work to do, right? You've got a bit of work to do, right? And you don't overcome that fear or you don't embody that new lesson until you're on the other side of the journey of it. In taking the action and seeing the reality responding back to you in the way that you intended on taking that action. But what happens is people will take the action, universe doesn't respond how they wanted it to, and then they keep outsourcing that response to someone else. Like, oh, it's my fault. It's your fault. I didn't get it because you didn't give it to me. No, you didn't take the action on it. I'm not there to give it to you. I'm there to give you the action step so you can create it for yourself. I don't go giving people their sovereignty. I give people the action steps so they can create sovereignty for themselves. I don't give people business plans. I extract their essence from them so they can then take the action on their essence and attune to it and create the success for themselves. It's like you still have to take the fucking action. If you don't take the action on it, it's never going to happen. So feel the fear, do it anyway. But if it doesn't feel good, what work have you got? What work have you got to do? Is this a boundary thing, a people pleasing thing? Are you leaking some energy? Are you hoarding some energy? Are you sabotaging yourself? There's so many rhymes or reasons, and at the end of the day, it always comes back to self-worth, high self-esteem, confidence. It does not feel good. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Doing the work doesn't feel good. Doesn't mean don't do the work. It means do the work. Look at what's not feeling good. Yeah. Anyway, another little rant to end. Like we've gone in so many different directions today. Holy moly. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and got some little gold nuggets out of it. Um, and if you find you're in a space where you're not feeling good about something, just give yourself some space to understand a little deeper. Move through it. You can't go over it, can't go under it, you can't go around it. Gotta go through it. I'll see you next time on the Untethered podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this one.